Eileen, we've
Yes.
come to our third and final part of our interview.
Okay.
So I have some table topic style
Ah,
self-reflection questions.
okay.
The first question is, what do you like about yourself the most?
That I'm positive no matter what happens, I can always see there's something good in it. And this was really tested with my husband with Alzheimer's, which we kind of noticed maybe in 2014, 15, but it wasn't until 2018 when he said, we need to move from this 3-story house to a condo. And then we began to notice things with Alzheimer's. And
This house, move to this house.
so we moved here in 2018, and he died in 2022. He still knew who I was, and he still knew our daughter and our son, but he also knew what was happening to him. And that's really sad. Not all the time, but anyway. So I found that going to a Toastmaster meetings, even other club meetings online was a lifesaver for me, because I could have just been sitting in a chair watching TV or something while waiting or what would happen, because I was his 24-hour, 7-day a week caregiver. I did have help. I did hire help, but it's a disease that's really just really horrible. It just melts your brain. And considering he was an extremely healthy man with nothing, that's the only thing he had wrong with him. So it's a good thing I had a positive attitude, because it could have been a real downer. But like I said, I ran the contest season for 2 seasons during the pandemic while my husband was suffering, and he was fine with it.
So you see the glass half full?
No, I see the glass. I just never understood that as a child. The people were talking of glass half empty, half full. No, I always saw it overflowing with opportunities. It's also like bubbles coming out of it. And there was all kinds of opportunities. All you have to do is say yes, or say, I want to learn, or I want to try. And I did.
Overflowing glass.
Yeah, that's the way I see life.
What do you like least about yourself?
You know, I'm older now, and I pretty much like myself. And I have changed. I have matured. I have made adjustments. So I think I don't know what I would say I like least about myself, because I kind of think I'm in charge. Where younger person no, but yeah.
What is the biggest accomplishment in your life?
Wow, there have been quite a few. I told you about being a university graduate, and
Your family?
yeah, in my family, I was the first on both sides of the family, and the large families, and that I'm really proud of that. My class graduated in the Rose Bowl. No, not the Rose Bowl. I'm trying to think of where it was. The Hollywood Bowl. The Hollywood Bowl. Do you know where that is in Los Angeles? It's a big place.
No.
My dad, who always was just so supportive, he always would say, you can do it, you can do it. No matter what it was, I was sitting on my bed crying or something, he'd say, you can do it. He was really a person who really believed in his kids. And I can still see him on that summer day in June at the top of the Rose Bowl, way up there, crying because he was so proud. And we, who had black caps and gowns, only put them on when we got on the stage to get our diplomas, because people were fainting. It was so hot. But my dad was so proud. Yeah, and my mom was too, but my dad was the one that was pretty demonstrative.
Do you have any regrets in your life?
I really regret that my younger daughter died at such a young age, but that's something you can't control. She died, I told you, of an asthma attack at 29. But I'm very proud of her sister who raised her children, and they visit. So it's really, really something to talk about. But no, all along through my life, somebody has stepped in to help. I remember my next door neighbors when I was probably in the fifth or sixth grade, and I was taking a sewing class. No, it was seventh grade, taking a sewing class. And my mother was kind of reclusive, didn't drive, and didn't like to go out and mix with a lot of people. And I remember there were newlyweds next door, Peg and her husband. And they said they knew that, and they said, "You're having a fashion show at your school?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, I'd like to take you and your sister and your mom." And I'm like, "Oh," because I didn't think I could go. And so I asked my mom, and my mom said she didn't want to go, but my sister and I did. But it takes a village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody always stepped in to help. All through my life, somebody has stepped in when I needed them. Even though I didn't know I needed them, they stepped in. So no wonder I'm positive.
Who has been a positive influence in your life?
Well, definitely my husband and my father. Most definitely. Everything my husband pretty much picked up where my father left off. You can do whatever you want. You can do it. You know, what can I do to help you? Sit on a stage for 3 hours, and yes, I'll do that. That would be yes. And I actually had a teacher. I'm going to do a speech about this because I realized not too long ago, I was remembering that this teacher always told me uh, there were kids who would make fun because I was short. I mean, I'm 5 feet tall. And kids make fun of you through school. And some of the guys, even in college, would make comments, well, how's the air down there and stuff like that, silly comments, but still kind of hurtful. And he said, "You should never worry about them." He said, "You're tall in your thinking." And I said, "I am." So I'm going to give a speech about my teacher who told me I was tall in my thinking.
What is the one book that has greatly influenced your life?
It's really funny. I told you I was a blue collar kid, and my parents didn't have a library, obviously, but my dad he read a lot of books. I don't know where he got these, but there was behind a door there was a small bookcase, and I was reading these books probably in the fourth and fifth grade. One author, there was a set, Pearl Buck, which was way over the head of most kids. But I read all those books, and I felt like, whoa, there's a lot more out in the world than I know about. And it seems silly that it wouldn't be some kind of book that's really impressive, but Pearl Buck it's a whole set of her books. And I do remember when I was in the third grade, somebody gave me a set of Nancy Drew books, and I guess I never even picked them up and read them. But then suddenly I got the urge to see what they were about. And so Nancy Drew books were really great. I loved those. You probably don't even know what they are.
No.
So a whole set of Nancy Drew books. But the one that really probably set me on the way to wondering more about the world was the Pearl Buck books.
How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
I thought I had really had it. I thought I knew what I was doing. So I took on the club officer training, and I had it at Rick Engineering across the street from where I live, because Lynn Kadushin worked there. And you probably don't know Lynn, but like I said, she has died. So I had it all planned. We had the room set up, everything. And I thought, I'm going to bring in a really good speaker so we could pull in a lot of people. We had a load of people come. And I had a speaker's name was Cheryl Roush, and she had a big following. So we opened the event. She gave her speech, and she had a lot of her friends there. And then we opened it to club officer training, and 4 people stayed. And I said, lose this one. I've learned a lesson. You're going to have a speaker, have them after the club officer training, not before. So we had 4 people trained, but there were about 35 or 40 who left. So definitely, you really learn more from your losses than you do from your wins.
I think that's because that's the reason that we always say during your speech contest, you announce the winner as the last thing, even after the district announcement.
Yes, and that's something everybody should remember, is that you are at a contest and you are supposed to be featuring the winners at the end of the contest. And how many times if somebody got up and said, "Oh, I have this event coming," no, you get all of that out of the way, and then you announce the winners, and they can bask in their glory of being first, second, or third, and people can contact them and everything, not mess it up by saying other stuff.
Yeah. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say and why?
I think I'd probably put something like, to live your life well, be yourself, be true, be honest, learn everything you can, share with others, and be proud of yourself and be proud of others that you know work with, your family. Be proud of them and let them know it.
It's going to be a big
billboard. Big billboard.
Yes, that's nice message.
Yeah, it's bigger than what we use on a PowerPoint, 3 points. Yeah, I could probably edit that down.
What's the best or most worthwhile investment you ever made? It could be money, time, or energy.
I think all the people that I have mentored in docents, helped them, because I was a mentor to other docents and who were coming up and learning, listening to their tours and making comments to help them be more successful. That was really, really good. And then certainly in Toastmasters, the same, being a mentor. I can remember this one lady who came into our club at Balboa Park, and she said that she had adopted a little girl. She was Jewish, and she had adopted a 10-year-old girl from Mexico, or of Mexican descent. And she said she was just so delighted with her. She was just thrilled. They were just like went together wonderfully. And she said she took her to the temple, on the weekend. Our club meets on Wednesday. So that weekend she had taken her to the temple, and the rabbi had asked for somebody to read this thing. And she raised her hand and said, "My mother will read it." And she said, "I fell to my knees because I'm so terrified of talking to people in public." And she said, that's why I'm here today. That was 4 days later, 3 days later. And she stayed at our club for quite a few years. But the deal was that it was so cute. She wanted to be in the speech contest, And I know my husband came over and he said, "Is that the lady that you were telling me was so shy she couldn't even say her name in front of the club?" I said, "Yeah, I'm so surprised she's in the speech contest." He said, "I heard her speech. I think she's won." And she did.
So you think Toastmaster is your best investment?
Oh, boy. I can tell you just what we told the people at Stanley Park on Saturday when we had this 4th of July event. We had a Toastmaster tent. I was telling him, it's something you will never regret, and you'll be so sorry if you don't do it. But I said, it's never too late. And the gentleman said he was 70. And I said, well, let me tell you, we had a lady who, I think her name was Evelyn, and her daughter was Donna. And her daughter was a Toastmaster, and she always brought her mother to these events. And her mother finally said, I am joining Toastmasters. I'm not leaving this earth before I join. And we said, well, how old are you? And she said, 102. So we signed her up, and I think she wore glasses for her. No, she didn't wear glasses. She read her jokes. That was the only thing she did. She read her jokes. But on her icebreaker speech, she told the story about how she wanted to be a Toastmaster, and she knew how worthwhile it was. And she was so sorry she hadn't joined when she was younger. But she said, you know what? I'm 102. All my friends have died. All my relatives have died except for Donna and her brother. When I die, I know the Toastmasters will come to my service. And she was right. When she died at 109, we were all at St. Mary Magdalene Church up on the hill. And we were there. And she had a luncheon for all of us at a buffet restaurant nearby. And we saluted her at 109.
It's lovely.
So the gentleman said, well, 70 isn't too bad after all. So he wrote his name down and we'll contact him.
In the last few years, what new belief or habit has most improved your life?
Well, with my husband with Alzheimer's for quite some time, I would say that just the positive attitude that I have, and evidently I've had it since I was pretty small. Other family members have told me as life has gone on that I was always the one with the smile and, ready to go anywhere. Oh, and this is good. My husband always said, you invite her to dinner. She might have been cooking all day. She'll put it in the refrigerator and she'll go. So I always was ready to do something different. And I think that's, if you stay in a rut, you're going to be in a rut. Mm-hmm. And if you are at a young age, you get pretty bored with life. So I say, get out there and learn. And Toastmasters is a wonderful place to learn. And especially with all these pathways where you have the chance to do things that you normally wouldn't do. Say humor. A lot of people go, oh, I'm not funny. And so they take the humor one. And then suddenly you realize, that person has a pretty good sense of humor. So yeah, definitely. And I enjoy the leadership part too. I never realized I would, but I do. I enjoy the leadership part of it.
Last question. What is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love?
Well, I took up cake decorating just before my husband became to the point of not being able to really function. And I always enjoyed baking, but I never thought about cake decorating. But the reason I took up cake decorating is because one of our Toastmasters in Founders District at that time, Lois Sicking, was a friend, and she knew I baked, and she called me up and she said, can you make a wedding cake for 10? And I said, yeah, I said, as long as it's a rectangular cake, I could do that. Then we went to the convention, and at the convention, she said, we're getting married next weekend, and the number's up a little bit. And I said, from 10? And she said, It's 100 now. I had just read the Costco magazine where the caterer's dog ate the 2 layers of cake. And she had gone to Costco and had them give her slab cakes frosted, and then she had cut them. And so I went to Michael's and I said, I'm desperate. Teach me how to do a wedding cake. And I told them what I was going to do. And they said, they had me take the class where you put the plastics in between. Instead of making one cut that's that big, you have layers. So they taught me how to do it. And I made a cake for over 100 people by using Costco cakes, frosting, and my sister came and helped me. The best part is I had to drive it from San Diego to some place kind of like Pomona, Pasadena area where it was over 110 degrees. And I couldn't use fondant because the bride wanted buttercream. And so my sister and I spent that Friday doing the cakes in the church rec area and putting them in their refrigerator and then pulling them out the next day and putting it together, only to have the bride come in and say, that's wonderful, but guess what, I forgot my bouquet. So the leftover roses that we had put live roses on her cake, we quick whipped up a bouquet for her to carry, and a garter, my sister's scrunchie from her hair. We put flowers on it and made a garter. We saved the day.
Eileen, that was all my questions.
Okay.
Any final thoughts?
No, I've had a wonderful time. All I can say is, if just what Helen said, if you get it out of Toastmasters, what you get out of Toastmasters, you'll never get out of Toastmasters. I believe that is a really, really important thing to say and do, because she really meant it. She never got out of it. I actually know somebody who's a 92-year-old who's still speaking, and he says if he doesn't speak at least once a month, he loses his edge. So I'd say I agree with that. But anyway, anyone who joins Toastmasters is going to be a very happy person, and just follow the ideals that they give you. And personal stories are really important. Nothing makes a speech drier than just listing things without any input about your personal story. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of them.
Eileen, you're guest number 12 on my channel.
Oh, very
I'd like
good.
to present this to you.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Yay. Hey. Super. That's wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I would shake hands, but I really can't with my dog bite.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, good. This is my husband, Douglas's father, who is an actor on the Chautauqua circuit, which was bringing drama and art to the communities from Canada to Florida and including the Midwest, where they did Shakespeare and drama. And in the afternoon, people like Edgar Bergen did his show for the kids with Charlie McCarthy, things you probably don't remember.
And this one?
Yeah, this is Doug's mother, Isla. And she was born in Iowa, University of Iowa graduate. This one is my husband, who looked a lot like his dad, and the 2 girls we adopted.